This Quaker State 400 available at Walmart edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Circa Sports. Circa Sports is back with their Circa Survivor and Circa Millions contest. $14 million is up for grabs. Get all the details right now at circasports.com.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes, he's Cody Zeeb, and I am back in my familiar home digs. No more falling off of chairs trying to get the light switch unwrapped around from light things. It's so good to be back right here in this seat talking NASCAR with you, Cody. I missed you on Monday. Glad Derek could hold the fort down for us on our recap show in what was, I'm here to tell you, Cody, a ridiculous Chicago street race.
Well, I think that's the first part, right? First of all, welcome back. Glad to have you back. Glad to be on this side of things and not that side where I'm much less comfortable. But I do appreciate Derek stepping in like he always is willing to do. And yeah, we had a great conversation, obviously, after that race. I know you didn't get to see it live, but you've caught up since. What are your thoughts, Rod? I know everybody wants to hear what you thought of that race. First of all, congratulations on your 18-1 Denny Hamlin pole bet.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that again, man, I'm telling you, so it's funny because one of our guys was like, oh, that was a pretty lucky call. And I was like, yeah, it was a lucky call. I said, but there's a little more that went into it.
Not completely luck.
Yeah, I mean, it was like he did just take the pole in Sonoma. We did sort of have a handicap for that. It was a toss-up anyways, but yeah, thank you very much. And look, for a second, I thought Hamlin was going to be one of the quicker guys, right? I mean, obviously, Tyler Reddick had something to say about that. And of course, SVG, right? Nobody can pronounce Van Gisbergen before the race was over. But by the time the race was over, everybody knew SVG at the end of that one. I'm here to tell you right now that was a feel-good story for NASCAR. I think it was a feel-good story for Trackhouse, who now have won 2 races in a row. But I just feel like overall, it just capped off that entire race, right? I mean, we had the rain delay. Are we even going to get this off? The Xfinity race was called. Cole Custer now earns himself a cup ride because he won the race last week. It's like,
see, we're not looking so bad now because I said he was going to get 10 wins this season. And he's already at 2 now.
See, so now we just got to catch up with 8 more. But no, overall, I liked the concept. I absolutely love I really would have loved to have seen, just like everybody else, what that would have been like on a dry track, what that would have looked like without all of the slipping and sliding, the rain tires at first. Like I understand that probably is what comes with street racing and something that we're going to have to deal with if we go to Midwestern places for a street race. But obviously I want to see this thing taken on the road, quite literally, and see where we can go in different places. Because this doesn't have to be a Chicago only venue from now on. Street races by nature are on streets. So we can take this all over the place and see where that goes. So I mean, to me, I thought the concept was fantastic. I thought the implementation of the concept was exactly what I thought it was going to be, right? I mean, there was a lot of, then for what we said that track was too, right? Was a lot of straightaways, a lot of technical turns. I think it provided enough of a challenge for these guys to be able to go out and race and show their speed, show their technicality, and show that they're race car drivers and not just, I can make a bunch of left turns, right? Or whatever everybody says of NASCAR. So overall, I thought it was a success. And given the traffic jam over there on, I can't remember exactly which street it was, but that 20 car pileup over there on that street, it was, man, that was nuts. Only in street racing in stock cars could you see that, because F1, you're never going to see that.
No. It was, I mean, I agree with everything you said, right? It was a lot of fun. And man, yeah, I'm excited for more of those. I think that we're definitely getting another one in Chicago, probably maybe more in future places down the roads. NASCAR seemed pretty excited about it. TV ratings, we obviously didn't know about that at the time Derek and I recorded Sunday night. TV ratings were a home run, highest rated race since Daytona 500, highest rated race on NBC since 2017. Like it just, out of the park. It was like almost 2 times what Road America, the race it replaced, got in TV viewership. Like it was, everything about it was a really good week for NASCAR. And I think that not gonna be the last time we see that.
I do think Chicago earned themselves a do-over. I feel like that's so they stuck with it, and they didn't give up after all the weather. So I feel like if we do go back for another one, I give Chicago another shot. give them one more time to get it done, and then of course take it on the road, because I feel like I feel like they've deserved it. They stuck through us through the hard times.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of backdoor deals and red tape, and the mayor has switched, and there's rumors about whether the city wants it or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see if Chicago, there's options on both sides as far as the 3-year contract. If Chicago wants them back, or if there's other teams or other cities knocking at the door, like, hey, bring that here, and what cities those might be. I think that could be interesting. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't think that was the last street race we've seen in NASCAR for sure.
Well, I'm pretty sure other cities have taken note of how successful that run was, and they're going to want it for their own. So, I don't think we're in any danger of seeing that off the schedule at any time. All right. I want to tell you about our new sponsor, Circa Sports. Circa Survivor is back. You're going to get up to $14 million in guaranteed prizes up for grabs. Well, Circa Millions, you get 5 NFL picks against the spread each week. Just pick a different money line winner each week, and you can enter in Vegas and play from anywhere you want in the world. And the Sports Gambling Podcast, the main mothership, Brian and Sean, are going to be out there in the last weekend of August, so you can go catch them as well. If you're planning a trip to Vegas in the last week of August, go say hi to the bosses. I'm sure they'd love to see you. Tell them Rod and Cody sent you, and maybe they'll give us an extra bump after they win their tons in Vegas to get through it. You want to go and find all the details, go to circasports.com. That's circasports.com. Cody, I would ask you, $14 million, what would you do with the money if you won?
That sounds like a lot of NASCAR bets I can place, Rod.
I would bring a street race over to Northern California. That's what I would do if I had $14 million. I'm pretty sure it would take a lot.
I was going to say, I don't know if $14 million will cover, but you can chip in for your part.
I love it. Well, you have that problem to handle. If you want, go to circasports.com. Make that problem your own. All right. Well, Cody, Chicago's in the books. You and Derek obviously thoroughly covered the recap of that very well, so we won't spend too much more time on that. So we'll turn our attention to Hot Atlanta. I hate it when people say that, so the fact that I just said it made me cringe. But we go to Atlanta for the Atlanta Motor Speedway, formerly the Atlanta International Speedway, and now the Atlanta Super Motor Speedway, whatever. What is it? It's just Atlanta. We're going to Atlanta. We're racing around this 1.5-mile super speedway configuration for the 4th time now in its current and the 4th time in the next gen car. We have stats to back some stuff up. We actually have a race earlier this season to sort of draw from. But Cody, as we all know, you could take every single one of that, print it up, throw it in the trash, because it almost doesn't matter at this point.
For the most part. I mean, again, you can make calculated guesses using that, but again, much like we talked about last week with the Chicago street race, much like we talk about every time we come to a super speedway. And yes, it's weird to call Atlanta a super speedway now, but it is. You can't look at any past history prior to 2022, right? So these 3 races we've had, that's it. It's a completely new track, basically. It races as a super speedway. It's not as big as Daytona and Talladega, so the racing's a little different. The wrecks are not different, Rod, and that is the key, right? Don't get caught up in the big one. Who is good at avoiding that? Who is good at finishing these races? We know some drivers that are. We know some drivers that aren't. Or we're going to make our calculated guesses on from that. And again, much like you hopefully did last week, take it easy, take it light. Doesn't mean you can't bet, right? We hit an 18-1 with Denny Hamlin on the poll that Rod called out. On the bonus bets episode, well, both these were on the bonus bet episode. Actually, I gave out Cindric 6-1 as the top 4. That one hit. We hit quite a few other bets throughout the day as well. A couple of top 10s in there we hit and all of that. So there are still bets that you can hit, bets that can happen. But again, with the unpredictability of the super speedway, you've got to keep that in mind going into it. Just like I said last week, these are my favorite types of races to bet on because it is so unpredictable. It gives you the opportunity to hit these bigger bets, gives you the opportunity to bet on different guys you maybe don't always bet on, sprinkle things out in different spots, find a lot of good value on the board. I'm super excited to bet on this one.
So I did take a peek at our picks page just to prep for this, and I noticed neither one of us are on head-to-heads this week, and we did it independently, which has made
I did have one
so much better.
I do have one in there, but
you do. But
we'll get into that because it's the one guy I absolutely have to fade on super speedways every time because it just never makes any sense why he gets in these matchups. But yeah, I mean, again, much like last week, right? We were very limited on the head-to-heads. It's so tough to do head-to-heads. If you're going to do head-to-heads, I would almost always look for plus money or look for one single guy you want to fade and take multiple drivers against him. Head-to-heads are so tough because we've seen it so many times, right? You can go from first to last in a lap. You can go from last to first in a lap almost. Like, things change so much. Things are so crazy. It's not nearly as predictable as it is on a regular week-to-week basis. And it just makes it so much tougher, especially if you're not getting very good value. So a lot of our bets are going to be top 3s, top 5s, top 10s, groups, top manufacturer, like looking for the value on the board. And that allows you to miss more bets, which is going to happen. But you hit a couple of them and it makes it a little easier. And again, it's easier to hit the bigger plus money bets because of the unpredictability. And so, yeah, I think that is something to note is that is the place I would go lightest on the week for sure, is the head-to-heads. Much like last week, it's just head-to-heads are real tough.
And really, it makes almost no sense in any sort of super speedway racing whatsoever. I mean, and I know that I think we took some head-to-heads in Daytona, but Daytona is a little different. There's unpredictability, but then there's a little bit of like, okay, well, we can kind of gauge on Daytona unless people avoid it. But it almost doesn't make sense on these types of races, rather, to take and pay juice for any sort of bet. It just doesn't make any sense to lay juice when chaos could happen, and next thing you know, there's a 10-car pileup on a street in Chicago, and everybody's trying to find their way out, and you don't know how that's going to shake out. And the same thing can happen, obviously, in an Atlanta, in a Daytona, in a Talladega, where instead of being gridlocked on a street, these guys are all
wadded up in a corner.
Wadded up. Yeah, exactly, in a corner.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to unstretch them out and pile them out. So, yeah, I think almost all of ours are
yeah,
all
the one head-to-head I gave out is a -110, or that I will give out to -110. Everything else on our entire card, plus money bets. When we go to the Xfinity Series race, whenever that show comes out, whether it's later today or tomorrow, we haven't figured out the scheduling yet. But that's going to be likely the same, right? It's going to be very light on the head-to-heads, if any, looking for plus money there as well. Just kind of how it works when you come to this type of track.
That is true. Well, they will run whoa, microphone. Where are you going, bud? I'm home. You don't have to run away from me. I am, it is the 2023 Quaker State 400 available at Walmart. I'm going to get the whole name in there because that is what the race is called. Unlike other folks, I don't take shortcuts. It is the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart, entry list. There's 260 laps around this 1.5 mile track for 400 miles. Obviously, they did have the 500 miler around here. Was it the Quick Folds 500 for a while? But now they've sort of settled into this 400-mile race on this track. It is sort of now going to be, I think, the norm going forward. There won't be a 5 and a 400, but again, there's a lot of chaos to be had in these 400 miles now with the reconfiguration, the banking, and all that. Now, at some point, we'll stop talking about the fact that it's brand new, but I mean, only 3 races have been run on this track in this configuration, so it's still relatively a new feeling to these guys who have been around forever.
Enough newness has worn off that it gives us a little bit of data to look at, right? So that's very helpful as well.
Yeah, and really, when even in looking at the data, it is kind of amazing to see some of what pops up consistently too. And you know, we talk about super speedways being unpredictable, anyways. And when you look at it, 2 Daytona races, they may look completely different, but 2 of these Atlanta races have looked eerily similar. I don't know if we can say that it'll end up the same way this time, but hey, the potential's there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Couple of notes too going into this weekend. This will be the debut of the changes, the safety changes that they're making after some of the wrecks we saw earlier on in the season, Daytona and Talladega. I won't bore you with all the details, but basically they're going to soften the front clips. They added some struts. Yeah, let's see, updated the rails. Like they put extra plate in the door. If you remember that Ryan Preece, Kyle Larson wreck, I think that was at Talladega. That massive hit they took late in that race. So it'll be interesting to see how well these cars crush. If they do get in wrecks, right? We've seen some guys get in some of these pretty big wrecks and kind of limp around still for a while. These cars should crush more on super speedways now to take the force away from the driver, right, and absorb it within the car. So if they're getting caught up in this, might be not returning to the race as easily as they were before. So that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure. And then for the entry list, we have got 37 Cup cars entered, so everybody will make the race. JJ Yaley in the 15, Austin Hill back in the 62 for Beard Motorsports, BJ McLeod in the 78, and Cole Custer, Rod, making his return to the Cup Series. He is going to be in the 51 Rick Ware racing car, and they actually announced this week that he is going to be at 3 races here at Atlanta, then next week at New Hampshire, and then Pocono as well. So Custer getting another chance in some Cup Series equipment.
We'll get a second to talk about Cole Custer in a little while. I'll just tease that, and we'll tease that one before we tell you about Underdog Fantasy, because it's about time to get to the bets, and I really want to get there. But I want to tell you about Underdog Fantasy even more, because we're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best Ball Mania 4 is here. Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in prizes. Underdog Pick'em is also a great way to get down on your favorite MLB and NFL season player props. So many ways to win over Underdog, and Underdog is available in so many states. Head over now to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. Yeah, like I said, the entry list is going to be crazy because of all those new names that are in there. I say new because some of them are new, some of them are, back around, but not as crazy as a SVG winning an entire race after never, ever setting foot in a Cup car before. Now, that's such a damn good story. I felt good for him, right?
Yeah, all feel good stuff there. I'll have to find the tweet, but so this was the first time somebody had won in their first Cup Series start since like 1960 or 1963 something, which is, that in itself is crazy, right? And then let's see, I think it was, right here, the last time the number 91 car won a NASCAR race, there was a monkey riding in the passenger seat. Jocko Flacco was riding with Tim Flock at Hickory in May of 1953 when he got the last win for the thing. NASCAR man _RR. He's like a big history guy on Twitter. He shared the little news clipping, and it said Tim had Ruizus monkey, I don't know, co-driver named Jocko Flacco with him on his May 16th, 1953 Grand National win at Hickory Motor Speedway. Jocko Flacco became the only winning monkey ever. The monkey was retired 2 weeks later at Rally, where it became scared after looking into the wheel wells. Tim had to do a pit stop to remove the monkey, and he finished third instead of second. So if that's not one of the best stories you've heard this week, you're lying. But I know that was absolutely great NASCAR history for you there.
Jocko's going to be my new favorite passenger in all of NASCAR history. I love that.
The only monkey to ever win a Cup Series race. So there you go.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, no monkeys will be taking part in this race. I can only imagine monkeys at 170, 180 miles an hour. Not necessarily going to be.
Probably wouldn't fly these days.
No, not even a little. But we are, again, like I said, going to start setting up our bets for Atlanta. No 91 car this time around, so we can't cheer for a Kiwi to win, which I don't know if they're supposed to call Kiwis. I don't know.
I think Kiwi is a fairly accepted term. I mean, if it's not, we apologize. But
Yeah.
I always see people listed that way, so
Yeah.
I think it is acceptable.
All right. Well, New Zealanders, please tell us if you're listening.
Yes,
Can we call you Kiwis or not?
We did have someone check in on the live stream that was listening from over there. He was talking about how he was a big a fan of SVG. So
Nice.
hopefully I don't know if he's a normal listener or if he just tuned in because of that, but hopefully if you're still with us, let us know. Let us know about the Kiwi.
Yes, please let us know in the comments. All right, well, Cody, let's get some bets in.
Let's get to some bets. We'll get the one head-to-head knocked out early. #fade Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, one of the greatest drivers in all of the world. Great in any car he gets to, on any surface he gets to, except Rod. Super speedways. Kyle Larson sucks at super speedways. Now, I like to say this every time because throughout this race, you're going to be thinking to yourself, wow, Kyle Larson looked pretty good today. Who the fuck's this guy? I didn't know what he's talking about, right? Kyle Larson, he's in the top 10 all day long. He's going to score points in stage 1. He's going to score points in stage 2. He's going to be in the top 10 in the closing laps. He will not avoid the carnage because he never does. Something is going to get him at the end of the race. My disclaimer to this, it is super speedway racing and anything can happen. But you take a look back. We've got 3 races here at Atlanta, right, that we can look at for Kyle Larson. 31st, a 13th place finish, so not bad at all. And I think I forgot to mention the actual bet too. I should probably start with that. It is William Byron over Kyle Larson, -110, over on Superbook. But so in his 3 races here at the Super Speedway style Atlanta, a 31st, a 13th, and a 30th. So 2 of the 3, 30th place or worse. That's the type of statistics I'm looking for. The other 2 super speedways we've had this season, Daytona and Talladega, these are going to be the other 2 quote-unquote comparable tracks, right? You're looking for this type of racing. Obviously, they're different sizes, but it lends to be similar results at all of the 3 of these tracks. 18th in the 500, which was an okay finish. 33rd at Talladega, though. You go back to 2022, he was 32nd in the 500. 4th place at Talladega, Rod. His only top 5 finish on a super speedway. So can it happen? Of course it can happen. He put himself in position. He got the 4th place that day. But of all the super speedway races he's entered in the Cup Series, the only time he's finished inside of the top 5 with that 4th place finish. And then you look at later on in that season, 37th at Daytona, 18th at Talladega. Go back to 2021. He did have a 10th in the Daytona 500. So again, a somewhat solid finish from him. 40th at Talladega, 20th at Daytona, 31st at Talladega, or 37th rather at Talladega the next trip around. So very inconsistent. Sure, he'll grab you a 13th. He has 1 13th in the last 3 here at Atlanta. He's got 1 10th place in the last 3 at Daytona and 1 4th place in the last 3 at Talladega. Everything else is 30th, 30th, 32nd, 40th, 37th, and 18th and a 20th mixed in there, like mostly bad finishes. Again, he'll decent throughout the race. It's like he's getting it figured out. Maybe, I don't know, because you'll see him up there mixing it up and he looks good. And it's like Sheldon Creed. Anytime the trouble starts to happen, he just can't avoid it on super speedways. He's said before he's not a fan of it. You go back and even look at the year he won. what was that 2021? He won all the 10 of those races plus the All-Star race. Like, had that 10th place in the 500, and then it was 40th at Dega, 20th and 37th. Like, so 2 37ths or worse in the 4 super speedway races in that 10-win season where he had that incredible season. I just have to fade Kyle Larson every time I go to the super speedways. Sure, every once in a while he'll get that good finish. He won't hit these, but for the most part, he doesn't get the good finishes. And William Byron, I don't even have to get into all the details on him, but he's really good at super speedways, right? Now he can get caught up in these wrecks as well. Again, that's part of the problem with playing head-to-heads at these tracks. But he won this race, or did he win? He won one of the races at Atlanta last year. It was a spring race, actually, at Atlanta last year. He's won at Daytona before, so he is a good super speedway driver. He gets some pretty solid finishes. So give me William Byron over Kyle Larson, -110 over on Superbook.
No argument here. If there was a Cole Custer over Kyle Larson, I would probably take that as
I would
well.
take BJ McLeod over Kyle Larson for the record.
Man, that's so tough.
Books are scared. They won't give it to us.
I would take, let's see. Nah, never mind.
I would take Rod Villagomez over Kyle Larson on Super Speedway.
I don't know, man. On foot, maybe. All right. I will set mine up, and it is a Ross Chastain top 3. I like the odds at this because they're really, the books have sort of depressed the value of Ross Chastain overall this week, and I'm not exactly sure why, just given the fact that he has sort of figured things out lately. And I say lately because he won actually 2 weeks ago, which is a good sign for that Trackhouse team. They've already won 2 races in a row as a team. Daniel Suarez is looking fast. Unfortunately, sometimes you get caught up in stuff and the finishes don't match. But for Ross Chastain, he's at plus 575 for a top 3 finish here at Atlanta. And I like the likelihood of this because, Cody, where do you think Ross Chastain has finished in 2 of the last 3 races here in Atlanta?
I believe he's finished in the top 5 in 2 of those last 3.
He has actually finished in second place in both of those. He finished second
inside
place.
Last time I checked, inside the top 5.
It is true. He finished second place in the spring of 2020. 2022 rather, the first configuration of this super speedway, and of course the next gen car by proxy. 42 laps he led in that race before finishing second. He started in 7th. In 2022 in the fall, he started in second place where he ended up finishing, but he led 32 laps in the process. Now, the only drawback is that earlier this season, he finished in 13th place, but he did lead 5 laps in that. He did start in 18th, so it's a little tough for him, I suppose, to gain back up to where he needed to be. But I will say that earlier this season, Ross Chastain was off to a quite bumpy, if not just sort of roller coaster start. We talked about his 9th place finish in Daytona. It was fantastic. He followed that up with a 3rd place in California. Even better, right? Then a 12th in Vegas, then a 24th in Phoenix. He was coming off of 2 very tough weeks. And for Ross Chastain, he's either creating trouble or he's doing well. And so that started the point where it started to get into trouble, right? The 12th, the 24th, then the 13th in Atlanta. He fixed it, finished 4th on the road course there in Austin, 3rd in Richmond. You're like, great. But then it was 28th at Bristol, 13th at Martinsville, and then another super speedway, right? He was on the heels of 2 bad races, finished 13th. Finished 23rd at Talladega. Then he got it figured out. 2nd at Dover, 5th at Kansas. You're like, oh, great. Well, then he got in trouble again. 29th at Darlington, 22nd at Charlotte, 22nd at Gateway. Well, now he's coming off of a couple of good races where it was 10th and 1st at Nashville. Listen, Chicago, I'm throwing Chicago right the hell out because that was just a ridiculous mess of everything, right? Because Chastain was actually doing okay in that race, and all hell broke loose, and he finished 22nd. So can't necessarily put that on him. But again, he's coming off a couple of good races, right? A couple of good races where he's familiar. Now he gets back in on a track where he's finished second over the last couple of seasons. Like I said, I'm going to toss out the last time because he did lead 5 laps, but he ended up finishing 13th. So I think for Ross Chastain at almost 6-1 to finish inside the top 3 is fantastic value. He's a man on a mission right now. I think he's feeling better about his position and himself now that he's got that win in the bank, right? And people they still don't like him. But at the very least, he's getting along better. I think Kyle Petty pretty much belabored the point of we're seeing a much better Ross Chastain. He's thinking out there. He's doing more calculations in his head. So I buy into the hype. I think a top 3 for Chastain at plus 575 is actually a solid bet over there on Superbook.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got something that's happened 3 times and 2 of those 3 times it's happened, you're getting almost 6-1 odds on it. It's pretty good odds, right? He's been good here. We've seen him be great at super speedways. He won at Talladega last year. The only thing that scares you, right, is his aggressive nature, but that can go both ways. Sure, the aggression can get him wrecked. The aggression can also get him through everything and get him up there for that solid finish like he's had 2 of the last 3 races here. So I think that is a positive to look at. And Trackhouse has just been good here in general. We're going to talk about Suarez in a little bit. He's been good here as well. So, and they're coming off of winning 2 races in a row as a team, right? So things are going well there. Things are going good for Ross. I think it's almost 6-1. You're getting really good value here. And again, that's what you're looking for in this type of race. Next up for me, I'm going to go with Eric Jones, another guy who is very good at super speedways. I'm going to take over on Barstool. His top 10 is plus 175. His top 5 is plus 475. I'm going to take both of those. 3 race sample size here. Eric Jones has an 8th place, a 14th place, and a 4th place finish. That's 3 races. Finished all 3 of them. 2 of them in the top 10. 1 of them in the top 5, and the other one was 14th. Not bad finishes at all. You go back at the last 8 races between Daytona and Talladega, and he has got a top 11 in 5 of those 8, including 3 6th place finishes. He really likes his 6th place finishes at super speedways. But Eric Jones is a guy, again, so 5 of 8 on, Daytona, Talladega inside the top 11. And then all 3 here, he's finished inside the top 14, proves time and time again he's a good super speedway guy. Not a guy you think of on a week-to-week basis so much with the struggles we've seen from Legacy, right? But we've even seen Eric have a decent run a couple of weeks ago at Nashville. He was fast in practice. He qualified well. He ran the race well. So maybe they've got a little momentum there. Noah Gragson, I think, is still hanging out with that turn in Chicago where he can't get away from. But Eric Jones should be good to go for Atlanta here. And so give me him the top 10 at plus 175, top 5 at plus 475 over on Barstool Sportsbook.
Boy, that turn 6 really did chew Noah Gragson up and spit him out.
How is that not like the Wendy's drive-through corner next year? It's like they've got to do something with it, right? Because then NBC will just show the highlights of every time Noah Gragson, drove the Wendy's car into that corner last year. That's like where they went. I think it was Coda, right? Where turn 1 was the Tom's heartburn turn after the entire field stacked it up in their Chicago style after the first season on that late restart.
Yeah, I every time they're like, "Oh, Noah Gragson off in turn 6." I was like, I might hold on. Did I?
Did the line? You know how it skips back sometimes?
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, I already saw this.
I was like, I swear to God, I didn't hit the back 50 seconds button. I was like, okay.
Who's sitting on the remote?
Oh my God. Yeah, that was bad. My only thing with Eric Jones though is I just I obviously it's a super speedway. So yes, you got to take anything and everything, but like Legacy, man, they keep burning me. I put myself out on a limb with them again last week and they still didn't come through. And it was like
they're a tough team to bet on, especially because they've been so disappointing. But I think that's where you find the value in a guy like that this week is nobody's going to be thinking about him. He's kind of sleeping under the radar. This is the time you pounce, and then you jump back off of him when we go to a New Hampshire next week where, he's going to be back to just regular Legacy-looking car.
Yeah. No, that's kind of where it's at, too. So, all right. Well, my next bet is a top 5 bet, and that is Tyler Reddick. He is a top 5 car at plus 400 over there on DraftKings. It's so tough for Tyler Reddick. Like you want it, the talent's there. You absolutely know the talent's there. You know that he can do this. In fact, last race, he did finish 5th earlier in the year. That was one of the highlights of his season, unfortunately, other than the win over there at Coda. But man, you look at the reason that he's plus 400 to finish in the top 5 in this race, given that he's in that Eric Jones range, which you almost feel like he shouldn't be, is the last 4 races. Abysmal. 35th at Gateway, 33rd at Sonoma, 30th at Nashville, 28th at Chicago last week. But listen to his starting positions. 9th at Gateway, 2nd at Sonoma, 2nd at Nashville, 2nd at Chicago. Speed is there. he's got to figure out how to put this thing together for an entire race. Now, we saw him lead a bunch of laps before getting chased down by Christopher Bell last week in Chicago. So I'm telling you right now, the speed is there. The cars are fast. There's some sort of disconnect that's keeping Tyler Reddick from being able to turn these into solid finishes. He's got 7 top 10 finishes this season in 18 starts, 5 top 5s, and that win. Average finishing position of 17.9. Rod, you're contradicting yourself again. I know. But it is Tyler Reddick. I still think a plus 400 for him to finish in the top 5 is fantastic value, given that he has done it already. He did it already this season here at Atlanta. He started 16th and finished 5th. All right. That was in the midst of a 3rd place at Phoenix, and then followed by that win at Coda. He actually finished 2nd at Bristol Dirt a couple weeks later. So when he finds it, he finds it, right? And I'm hoping that this is the week that he actually finds it, because last week at Chicago, it was looking pretty promising for the 45 to actually put in a solid day. And I will tell you that the 45 car has actually finished inside the top 3 in this track as well. It was Kurt Busch who did it a couple of seasons ago. So this 45 car is no stranger to being in the top part of this this finishing position. So, like I said, something's got to give. Something's got to give for poor Tyler Reddick, because he's just far too talented to keep being this bad on the racetrack. So at a top 5 at plus 400, if we're talking that low, because the rest of everybody is way too overpriced at the top 5s market. So, like I said, Tyler Reddick, top 5, give it to me. He did it already once this season. I think he can do it again.
Yeah, I like it. Again, he's one of those guys. He's tough to bet on, because it's like he's either really good or he's just out to lunch all day. But again, that's what you're looking for. You're hoping for that really good one. And he's proven he can do it before, so I think he could do it again. Next up for me, I am reluctantly going back to the Justin Haley well. This has bit me a few times here lately, but like you said, I think this is a guy that's due. He's coming off of high momentum 2nd place finish over at the Chicago Street Race, where what a duel with him and SVG there at the end. Haley did not go away quietly. That was a hell of a finish. Love to see that. I'm going to take him over on Caesars for Group C. Again, looking for some of these books have got, groups of 4 or 5. It's only plus 250. So as I'm looking through, I'm looking for these big numbers, right? Plus 450. Is this an easy group? Absolutely not. He's got AJ Allmendinger, who people think of him as a road course racer, a very, very under the radar, good super speedway racer. So keep your eye on him. But it's him. It's McDowell, who of course we know is a very good super speedway racer, won Daytona 500 a few years ago. Austin Dillon, another good super speedway racer. He's got wins at Daytona a couple of times before as well. And Chase Briscoe. The thing about Chase Briscoe, if this is a high attrition race, he's likely going to be running behind BJ McLeod at the very back. Will probably miss all the wrecks and might end up with a decent finish. So you got to watch out for him there. But I feel like Justin Haley has got the experience and has done really well on super speedways. Go back over the 3 races. He's got a 22nd place finish in one of them. The other 2 races, though, 11th and 7th place. Good, solid finishes there. He dominated Xfinity super speedway races. I think he won 3 or 4 in a row. Basically what Austin Hill has done lately in the Xfinity Series, Justin Haley did before that. So we know that he's a very good super speedway racer. Results have been a little bit mixed lately. He had a 19th, a 32nd, a 15th, a 28th, 12th, 23rd, 20th, a 6th in his last 8 races at Daytona and Talladega. So again, you got some ups, you got some downs, which is fine. That's what's going to happen here, right? Doesn't need to get in the top 5, doesn't need to get in the top 3. Top 10 would be nice, but all he has to do is beat these other couple of guys. You just hope that they get swept up in something. Again, looking for value. You're looking at the guys at the bottom of these groups, because Justin Haley, as he's proved with an 11th and a 7th place finish here, can get these good solid finishes. You just hope he beats out the other guys. And again, he can finish 30th, still win this group if he finishes ahead of these guys. So not an easy group by any means, but you're looking for the guys at the bottom of the group with the bigger numbers that can get you the good results. Justin Haley's that type of guy. So give me him to win Group C on Caesars plus 450.
He was so much faster than I thought he would be. Just so much faster. I mean, a college car shouldn't surprise you being at the front of anything, especially a road course or a road race. But, for him, it was so fun to watch him. Like you said, just not give up on SVG. He just did not want to give that position away.
Well, especially he wrecked that thing in practice. So he didn't get to finish practice. He didn't get to qualify at all. He didn't even attempt a lap. Started in the very back. Obviously, he lucked into it strategy-wise, or not even lucked into it, because not to get off on a tangent, but everybody knew that race was going to get shortened. They were talking about it on the broadcast as they were showing Adam Stevens, and then Christopher Bell's team's all pissed off because they literally were showing him on NBC, zoomed into his face, and said, he's trying to decide right now, does he pit because this race is going to get shortened, or does he stay out and keep the lead? He stayed out, kept the lead, and they didn't win. So that's probably his fault. But anyways, Justin Haley, in a way, lucked out, right? They played the strategy right. Got up front, but then he held on to it, right? Guys like SVG raced all the way back through and ended up beating him, but he held off Chase Elliott right behind him. He held off Austin Dillon as Austin Dillon was trying to take that lead from him. Like, he did a great job when he got up there. So riding that positive momentum into a track type that he's good at in super speedway. Another big thing with Haley right now, free agent at the end of this year. Colleague has said before they want to keep him. They seem to really, really like Haley. He was their first full-time driver in the Cup Series, right? That 16 car was a rotator. Haley was their guy. They tapped right from the start. But you still have to prove yourself if you want to get a ride for next year. Haley knows that. This is the perfect position to put himself into the position to make the playoffs, to have that good run. So give me Justin Haley to win this group.
I love it. Well, books are scared to let you parlay top 10s anymore on super speedways. They have learned the hard way that that's not the right way.
They got beat
go.
really bad one time on that.
Yeah, if they want to make money, they can't necessarily let you do that. So Caesars has done a good service and kind of parlayed one for us, and that's a top 10 finish for all three of the following drivers: Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain, and Kyle Busch. They're going to give you plus 400 if that happens, if all three of them will finish inside of the top 10. I mean, listen, I already made the case for Chastain to be a top 3 car, so that, by my math, puts him inside the top 10. For Kyle Busch, if you look back at his track history here, you're going to see that the 2022 season for him was garbage. He, especially on the first configuration, the first couple races in this new configuration, where he finished 33rd and 20th, 33rd in the spring race, where he crashed out. But he did lead 21 laps in that race, and then 20th in the fall race. So basically this sort of 400 miler that he did right there. So, here's the thing about Kyle Busch. Before that, he had ripped off 5 straight top 10 finishes before that. This season, to start off the Atlanta run in his brand new ride at Richard Childress Racing, 10th. So it's a top 10 finish for him there. We all know that Kyle Busch has had a killer season so far. He's won 3 races. He's got 6 top 5 finishes, 11 top 10s in 18 starts. He is riding right now a top 10 streak that goes back to Darlington. 7th at Darlington, 6th at Charlotte. He won at Gateway, 2nd at Sonoma, 9th at Nashville. Managed to find his way to 5th place after we felt like his whole race was over before it even began. He finished 5th in Chicago.
He didn't even pit after he buried it into the wall so far they had to pull him out with a tow truck. He didn't even pit, Rod. That was insane.
Yeah. I mean, he helped with his buddy Mater pulling him out, and he managed to finish 5th in that race. So look, Kyle Busch is a hot driver, and a top 10 in Atlanta for him is gonna, I think it's gonna happen. I mean, like I said, he did it earlier this season, and that was before he really started to catch on fire. He did win at Fontana, which was fantastic, but like not necessarily where he is right now in the season. So I think Kyle Busch is a lock for a top 10. And, again, his top 10 odds on his own. Let me pull those up. I'm sorry. I closed the tab in which the top 10 odds were at, but for Kyle Busch alone in a top 10 is not necessarily worth your while to place, because it is.
Yeah. Well, and just to your point of Kyle Busch, as you're looking that up, DraftKings actually has him as their favorite to win. Different book. It's different in almost every book who the actual favorite is, which is, again, kind of the product of super speedway racing, right? But DraftKings does have him at 10-1 as their favorite alone. I mean, Chase Elliott's the next favorite then at 11-1, but he sits alone at the top of their board, which is an interesting thing. And obviously they believe a lot in him to have him sitting at that price.
Yeah. So a top 10 for Kyle Busch is at -110. Ross Chastain on the other end of that is at +110 for a top 10. So again, not the greatest of odds together, but now if you add them, Alex Bowman is probably the one that is the wild card here. Alone, he's +175 as a top 10. Alex Bowman not necessarily had a fantastic season so far. In fact, he hasn't finished inside the top 10 at all since Richmond earlier this season. Since then, it's been 29th at Bristol, 11th at Martinsville, 13th at Talladega, 12th at Charlotte, flirting with the top 10, not in it. 26th at Gateway, 15th at Sonoma, 17th at Nashville, and just had a terrible day at Chicago, finishing dead last. Here in Atlanta, not the greatest of history either, but he has had 3 top 10 finishes in a row, a third in 2021, which you can't count, fourth at 2021, but he did have a 10th in the spring race here. So he has finished inside the top 10, 14th earlier this year, just outside of the top 10. But if you finish 14th, anything can happen to where you can finish another 4 spots up in 10th place. Again, I like the odds of all 3 of these at +400. I think that's a good little parlay without being parlayed over there on Caesars. So 3 good drivers to finish top 10 at +400. I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, I try to stay away from these ones too much just because that's a lot you got to get right on a superspeedway. But I think you made a good solid case. I mean, especially Chastain and Busch, like if they can avoid the chaos, they should be top 10 guys at the end of the day. And Bowman is kind of your wild card in there, but 4-1, I still think that there is some value. Next up for me, I'm going to hit the top Toyota market. And this one is kind of an interesting case here. So I'm going to take, there's only 6 Toyotas in this race, right? We talk about that a lot. When you're looking at the top Toyota, there's only 6 guys in the race. So to be the top Toyota, you only have to beat 5 other Toyotas, right? So again, much like it's almost like a large group, right? The group's sometimes 4 or 5 guys. This one just has 6. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take Bubba Wallace at 5-1 and Ty Gibbs at +550 over on Barstool. So I've got 2 of the 6 guys in this group. So now I only need one of these 2 guys to beat 4 of the other guys to hit me the top Toyota. Obviously, you've got Denny Hamlin in there. He's going to be the favorite of the Toyota group because he's a very good super speedway racer. But that doesn't always matter, Rod, as we've seen, right? You can get caught up in these things. You've got Martin Truex Jr. over in there. Martin Truex Jr., not a very good super speedway racer. He's actually the least favored of all these guys. Christopher Bell, he's up and down on super speedways. He's the second favorite to Hamlin. And then you got Tyler Reddick, who we just talked about a few minutes ago, right? It's really hit or really miss with Reddick as well. Bubba Wallace and Ty Gibbs are the 2 guys I'm looking at here. Bubba, in his 3 Atlanta starts in this configuration, a 13th, a 14th, and a 27th. So not overly impressive, but he did finish all 3 of them. And he did finish 28th earlier this season at Talladega. But if you remember, almost won that race at the very end of that as they were coming down. Ended up getting involved in that wreck. He was 20th at Daytona to open the season. Before that, in his Daytona and Talladega super speedway races, he had a 10th, 11th, 17th, 2nd, 1st, and 2nd place finishes. He is good at super speedways, so I love him. Ty Gibbs, much smaller sample size, right? We haven't seen a ton of Ty Gibbs on super speedways, but what we've had has been promising. Only 1 start here in his rookie season this season. By the time he was filling in for Kurt Busch at the end of last year, they'd already been to Atlanta twice. But his 1 start here, a nice solid 9th place finish. He finished 13th at Daytona last year in one of those fill-in starts for a decent finish as well. 2 Xfinity Series starts, finished 7th and 11th. 2 Xfinity starts at Talladega. He finished 7th and 35th, but in that 35th finish, he was 2nd and 5th in both stages, so he was running up front all day before getting caught up in one of those wrecks. So he's definitely got it in him. Again, just trying to corner this market. You take 2 of the 6 guys. If one of these hits, obviously at +500, at +550, you're going to get a pretty positive payout. So give me Bubba Wallace or Ty Gibbs at 500 and 550 respectively to be the top Toyota over on Barstool Sportsbook.
I did want to find a way to work Bubba in. I just, again, we talk a lot about his success over there at Talladega and at all that. Just you laid out the case for Bubba all over it. And it's just, I do like this angle. It just scares me because with Denny Hamlin being in the same vicinity, it's like he very easily could be that guy. So I don't know. It's the only
But
reason
again,
why Bubba Wallace.
you get one wreck and Hamlin gets caught up in it, Reddick gets caught up in it, and Truex gets caught up in it. Then those two guys only have to beat Christopher Bell at that point. Like, it's not, they still have to get into the top 5. I mean, if you look at a guy like Tyler Reddick, you have his top 3 bet is at, or top 5 at 4-1. He's still got to get all the way up. And not that that's a bad bet. I'm not singling that one out. I'm just saying he still has to get into the top 5, right? Where if these guys can avoid the chaos and these other guys get swept up in it, they don't have to have a good finish to be the top Toyota, especially, top Chevy is fun to bet too, but there's 100 Chevys in this race. And even with top Ford, there's, still, there's not really 100 Chevys, but there's a lot of Chevys. And top Ford, there's smaller amount than the Chevy, but there's still a decent amount. Toyota, it's just such a small group. Only have to beat so many guys. And Bubba is a great super speedway racer. And Gibbs is, he's still very young, but what we've seen so far, he's got some pretty decent finishes.
Yep. Again, I like it.
And he was going to win at Talladega, I think, too, until he ran out of fuel at the end. God damn it. I just reminded myself of that.
All right. Well, I'm going to take a look at a group here as well. This is Group E over there on Superbook. It contains the following: Daniel Suarez, Corey LaJoie, Austin Cindric, and Ricky Stenhouse. Sorry, Cody. I'm going to have to take Daniel Suarez out of this group. I know that Corey LaJoie, I know he's making his appearance right now. If you're watching on YouTube, you see Corey LaJoie. His corner's coming up here in a second. But I do have to say, in this group, right, it's Suarez as the winner of Group E, plus 270 over LaJoie, Cindric, and Stenhouse. Daniel Suarez and this Trackhouse team, I could almost just end my argument right there with them just being so good lately. Obviously, they have won the last 2 races between Ross Chastain and SVG. But Daniel Suarez has actually been one of the faster cars as well. He looked pretty good over there in Chicago, obviously, until he got into trouble, which was unfortunate for him, turning a 5th place finish, or 1st place start rather, into a 27th place finish. But again, he started in 5th, right? That's not bad for a guy making a road course start. In fact, his last 3 starts have been inside the top 10. Sonoma 9th, Nashville 10th, and then Chicago 5th. Now, granted, they haven't turned into good finishes for him. And if you're looking for quality top 10 finishes overall, well, that's tough to do. That's 5 top 10 finishes in 18 starts. But his average starting position is just under 15th place. It's not the speed that we see out of Chastain. It's not what we I guess what we're looking for when we think excellent. But you look who else is in this group. I mean, it's Ricky Stenhouse, who after Daytona, we said he had some pretty decent runs every once in a while, but has just not necessarily been the model of consistency that you want to see all season long. And in fact, in most other seasons, we would just be talking about him pretty much being a back marker all along. Stenhouse's last few finishes: 32nd at Gateway, 12th at Sonoma, 22nd at Nashville, 34th over there at Chicago. Not fantastic for that 47 team. So not a whole lot of confidence in Ricky Stenhouse to do anything really good. You look at his Atlanta finish, he finished in 17th. So not good. Whereas Suarez, he finished 29th, but he got caught up in some mess and was on the DVP, and he couldn't get back on the track after that. I don't even want to get into Austin Cindric, because for me, he's another one of those guys where he'll pop up and get you a good finish every once in a while, like he did before, but he's just not an exciting guy this season as far as somebody you want to put a lot of money on. Like we talked about, popping up and having a good finish like last week at Chicago. But again, that whole race shorten, the whole pit strategy, all that stuff sort of came into play for him to get that. 27th at Nashville, before that 25th at Sonoma, 13th at Gateway, 31st at Charlotte, 19th at Darlington, 31st in Kansas. Average finishing position so far for Austin Cindric is 21. Again, not a great way for Austin Cindric to get this season going. So out of that one, like I said, you're looking for the value. Trackhouse has been fast. Daniel Suarez has not been the fastest, but he's definitely benefited from having a good Trackhouse team behind him. I like the plus 270 side of this for him to best LaJoie, Cindric, and Stenhouse. I think he's probably even going to be a top 10 car by the end of the day, but I don't know that I'd feel comfortable with that. Even if he's a top 15, I still think he finishes better than the rest of this group. So give me Daniel Suarez at plus 270 to finish in Group E.
I can't believe you would bet against Corey LaJoie at Atlanta, Rod, but it's a nice way to hedge, right? So I'll give you that. This is a good way to hedge. And no, Suarez has actually been very good here in Atlanta lately. So we mentioned it earlier, right? Trackhouse has all this momentum. 2 wins in a row by Trackhouse cars, not Daniel Suarez. Maybe he makes it 3 in a row with 3 different cars. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I do think that Suarez will have a good result. And if something happens to Corey LaJoie, then it's a good hedge, right?
Yes.
Do you have any music happen to be keyed up for me, Rod?
I was ready, and here we go. And now it's time for Corey LaJoie Corner with Cody Zeeb.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Corey's beautiful hair and beautiful face. Anyways, Corey LaJoie, I bet on him at super speedways in Atlanta specifically before it was cool. 200-1 last season. Almost cashed that. Would have been the biggest hit ever for me, but just slightly missed out on it. That's okay. We're going to hit some Corey LaJoie bets again this week. I'm going with the whole shebang, right? Top Chevrolet, 15-1 over on Barstool. Top 5 plus 450. Top 10 plus 170. And, boy, they've really brought his odds to win down, Rod. But over on Superbook, he is 40-1. Give me all of those bets on Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie in 3 races in Atlanta. The 2 spring races, he has a 4th place and a 5th place finish. Last fall, he finished in 21st, but, Rod, that was the race where he exchanged the lead with Chase Elliott at the end. That entire last stage, back and forth, was leading with 2 laps to go, ready to cash my bet. Elliott puts him in the wall, ends up finishing in 21st, but not indicative of how he was doing. So 3 races, top 5 in 2 of those, was leading with 2 laps to go in the other one. Now, again, that's super speedway racing, so has to be taken into account. But he has got 4 top 16 finishes in his last 8 races at Daytona and Talladega as well. So love me some Corey LaJoie. Very, very good super speedway racer. This is his best chance, right? If they want to get that Spire car into the playoffs, Atlanta is the best chance. This is the one they have circled. Corey is going to be aggressive. He's going to get up there. He's going to mix it up all day long with the leaders. They're going to talk about him. They're going to be so surprised. Whoa, look at Corey LaJoie. What a great run he's having today. Like, it hasn't been happening time and time again at this track. And it's every time I just want to be like, have you never watched a super speedway race before? But anyways, Corey LaJoie, love him. Load up on Corey LaJoie. It's like much like Alex Palou in IndyCar a few weeks ago. We're going to make or break our week on Corey LaJoie. And so I like him. Top Chevy, 15-1. Top 5 plus 450. Top 10 plus 170. And 40-1 to win.
Corey LaJoie. We need to get him on the show. That would be the dream come true, is to get him on the show for sure.
Maybe I'll send out a tweet to him this week and ask him if we can be the first interview after he wins.
That would even be better. I think that would definitely make us a notch above. So, all right, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna belabor that point. That's Corey LaJoie's corner. We definitely love us some Corey LaJoie on the show, especially Cody. But yeah, give us Corey LaJoie on all that. All right, my next bet is another one of these all to finish ones. This one may be a little more risky than our all to finish top 10, but when I say these names, you're going to say, yeah, I can see that happening. So all of the following 3 to finish in the top 5: Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. This one, incredibly, is 30-1 over on Caesars for all these guys to finish inside the top 5. And listen, I mean, the names are obviously all names that have finished inside the top 5. They're all names that have won races, not necessarily all this season, but at least in the past. And they're all perennial top 10 cars, top 5 cars, all that stuff. So for Chase Elliott, actually, if you look back at his last 3 races, all of them have been top 5 finishes. And in fact, 4 of his last 5 races have all been top 5 finishes. 3rd place at Darlington, 34th at Charlotte, but he crashed out of that one. 5th at Sonoma, 4th at Nashville, 3rd at Chicago. They keep pressing how much Chase Elliott needs a win to get in, needs a win. Well, he's been consistently running around the front, so it's something that he knows that he's got to get this win. Well, what better place to win than a track that he actually won at earlier as well? Obviously did not get to take part in the first Atlanta race this season with his injury, but the last time he was out on this track, he walked away with a victory, started from the pole, led 96 laps, and won that race. And then in 2022, he finished in 6th, and then the other configuration, so the spring configuration of that, he finished in 6th. So almost a top 5 finish in that one, but he did start 6th. He led 29 laps in that one as well. So Chase Elliott on this new configuration in Atlanta equals super good. So I'm definitely not scared of the Chase Elliott part of this hitting. And again, for Chase Elliott, he needs to win. I don't know how many different times we have to say it, or the broadcast has to say it. He knows it.
Still don't think he has to win, Rob.
I know that there's a possibility, but you know how the broadcast loves them some drama. So
yeah.
yeah, you got to run with that one. For Denny Hamlin, this is why this is 30-1. All right. Obviously the other two are a little bit more of a far cry, that we're not necessarily a far cry, but a little more of a long shot than Chase Elliott. For Denny Hamlin, started on the pole, right, in both Sonoma and Chicago. Unfortunately, in Sonoma, didn't get a good finish, 36th when he crashed, but he did get a 3rd place in Nashville, proper track. 11th place in Chicago, but boy, I tell you, that was rough for Denny. As soon as he got started with that race, it just didn't feel like he was going to be a factor. And then, of course, pit strategy played into the whole thing, and there was a lot going on there at the end of that race. I think he got caught up in that pile up too. It's a little bit, didn't he? I think maybe not got caught up in it, but he got slowed down by it for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, but for Atlanta, earlier this year, he finished in 6th place, just outside, but he did lead 14 laps in that. We know he was fast. We know he was doing well. And then in the last season, we faded Hamlin. This was part of our fade Hamlin train, because he finished 29th and 25th in this race, on this track rather. And it was a bad look for him, but bounced back earlier this season for a 6th place finish, just one outside of the top 10. So once again, or top 5 rather. So once again, a very real possibility for that 11 car to be able to find his way inside of the top 5. So if we put Elliott there, if we put Hamlin there, I think we're okay. Martin Truex Jr., if I'd have told you this last season, you would have said, go to hell. And I would have said, you're right. I'm sorry. I will never, ever suggest that again. But for Martin Truex Jr. this season, a little different story. Martin Truex Jr. has enjoyed a much better 2023. Of course, his average finish is still only 12th, but you look back at, 4 of the last 5 races, he's had a top 5 finish. And in those, 3 of those have actually been inside the top 3. He's won 2 races this season. Chicago, he finished 32nd, but I'm not holding Chicago against anybody. I'm just sort of throwing that one out the window. But Nashville, he finished 2nd. He won at Sonoma, 5th at Gateway, 3rd at Charlotte. Martin Truex Jr. is on a little bit of a mini tear here, and I think you need to respect the fact that he's driving a lot better than most people have given him. Look back at his history at Charlotte. All right, last season, not good. But again, that's because he definitely wasn't the driver that he was before. 11th and 8th. I say not good because it wasn't a top 5 finish. But in that configuration, he almost finished inside the top 5. Earlier this year, 19th, but he wasn't the Martin Truex Jr. we see right now. So 30-1, this has got a path. That's the only reason why I'm giving this to you at 30-1, is because this has a path to hit. And if all 3 of these drivers finish inside the top 5, you're going to have a good day.
Truex is the one who scares me the most. Oh man, I don't know. Just him and super speedways, not always a great combination, but the Elliott Hamlin part I absolutely love. Again, at 30-1 though, finding any bets really at 30-1, like they're just worth this. There's nothing I'm going to tell you that can't happen in this type of race. Like, you want to bet BJ McLeod to win? probably don't advise it, but I can't tell you not to because there's a legit chance it rains going into turn 1 and BJ McLeod is one of 4 cars left at the end of the race. Like, that kind of stuff happens on super speedways. We've seen it before. We've seen these random guys just get top 5 finishes, be in competition for the win. So, I mean, at 30-1, again, you're asking for a lot to happen here, but Elliott and Hamlin, that's 2 of the best super speedway racers in the business right there. So it's not a far stretch to get them up there. And Martin Truex Jr., again, a reborn man this year, like, hard to argue against that as well. So, 30-1, man, it's hard to say no to any bet like that. So I like it.
And if you just really want to sweat, this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
This is the sweat that you never thought you wanted until it actually starts.
Yeah, because if all these guys are still in it at the end, your bet has a chance. Even if one of them's in 15th, like that late run, you're going to sweat this bet.
Yes, you are. Speaking of sweating, if you're watching right now on YouTube, you're definitely not seeing us sweat anymore. We're in our own well, at least for me, I'm in my own comfortable home and I love it. So,
yes,
once again, if you stuck with us through all of the craziness that was last week and are still watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Sorry about, some of the videos also being missing as well. Listen, it's so difficult to make it all happen on the road. So for those of you who are patient, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for hanging with us. Keep commenting. We see all your comments. There was an SVG call out on the show, on the one that we did for Grant Park earlier.
Yeah.
And he said he sprinkled a little something on SVG. Guess what? It hit
off. Yep.
So if you listened to the comment and did it with him, then you were as happy as he was. So shout out to everybody. We have a very smart audience. I'm very happy that they're as knowledgeable as they are, and continue to be that way. Continue to like, continue to subscribe, continue to thumbs up, and suggest this show to your friends, because it continues to grow and we're continuing to be happy to bring it to you. So love it, love it, love it. Please do more of it, and we'll continue to put these out for you. Obviously, this one will be out too. So thank you. All right. I forgot to hit the fade out button. Oh, well.
Way to go. Jeez.
Way to go. Whatever. All right. So somebody's got to win this race, Cody.
They do. And as per usual at super speedways, I've got a lot of options because you can bet a lot of different guys at a lot of different prices. I mean, not almost everybody is on the board and available. A lot of books, 12-1 is where the very favorite starts. So you've got some room here and you can kind of go with it as you please. So picked out a couple of guys that I really like. I will say odds, they're catching on at super speedways, right? The odds are not as good as we used to get them at, unfortunately, but still some good choices here. Chase Elliott at 13-1 over on BetMGM. He's only got 2 races here on this configuration because he missed the spring race. That was when he was out with his broken tibia. But a 1st and a 6th place finish in those 2 races. That's a pretty good sample there. He led 96 laps in one of those, 26 in the other one. And actually this fall, last season in the fall when he won and led those 96 laps, won stage 1, won stage 2, and won the race. Absolutely dominated that thing. Elliott is a very, very good super speedway racer. I'm not going to put him on a Dale Earnhardt Jr. level or anything like that, but he's got that ability to get up front and play the Pied Piper and lead the packs and run up front. And being in the front doesn't always exclude you from the wrecks, right? Because a lot of times they start up front. But if it starts in 2nd or 3rd place and you're the guy out front, you slip right past it, right? I think that is a bonus for him. You go back to his last 12 races between Talladega and Daytona, 8 top 12 finishes, 2 wins at Talladega. Obviously, he's got the win here at Atlanta as well. Very good super speedway racer. Like you said, Rod, the common narrative is he needs to get a win. I do think there's a way he can point himself in, but if he gets that win, he doesn't have to worry about pointing himself in. This is the perfect type of track for him to win at. We've seen him do it here before. Home track as well, right? He's a Georgia guy. He doesn't live in North Carolina like most of the drivers do. He lives in Dawsonville, Georgia, and he flies himself to North Carolina all the time. He's got his own plane. He's his own pilot, flies himself there. He is at home for this race. It's a big thing for him when he go to Atlanta. His dad had a lot of success at Atlanta. He's now had a lot of success at Atlanta. Wants to keep that going. I think it's a good week to get on Chase Elliott. Bubba Wallace, we talked about him already. Great super speedway racer, 25-1 over on Superbook. I love him to win this race as well. Ty Gibbs, another guy we've already talked about. I wasn't going to do it, Rod, but I don't want to miss it when he wins one because you know it's coming soon. I was hoping it was last week. Maybe it wasn't last week. Maybe this is the week. Again, going to be on the Ty Gibbs train. 30-1. The odds are still good enough over on BetMGM. Again, not a ton of super speedway racing experience. Obviously, he's like 12 years old, and we get it, right? He hasn't raced a ton of races, but he's been pretty good. 9th place in the spring here in his first start. He was so good in that Talladega race. I thought that was going to be the one. Ran out of fuel late in that one. I think he can put himself in position to win this at 30-1 on MGM. I think those are good odds. And Austin Hill, 66-1 over on BetMGM, Rod. He's in that Beard Motorsports car. He's guaranteed to make the race. Won't have the issue like he did in Daytona where he didn't make the race. He is the king of super speedways in the Xfinity Series. He's got 3 races at Atlanta in the Xfinity Series, Rod. 2 first place and a second place finish. Doesn't get much better than that. His last 3 at Daytona in the Xfinity Series, a first, a 14th, and another first. So in 3 Daytona races and 3 Atlanta races, 2 wins apiece. That's pretty impressive. A little bit rougher at Talladega, but he has only 1 Cup Series start on a super speedway in this car. It was 24th at Talladega, but there wasn't as much chaos in that race. And the most important part, he made it to the end. It's what you need for a guy like this to put himself in position. He knows how to win on this type of track. He proves it time and time again in the Xfinity Series. His odds are, I don't have to look and see what they are, but I think they were so stupid you wouldn't even bother to bet him in the Xfinity race because he's that good. Plus 350. He's plus 350, and he'll probably win the race, and we'll talk about it more when we get to the Xfinity Series show. But it's stupid to bet someone at 350 on a super speedway because of the things that can happen, but he's so good they have to put his price there. That just goes to show you, sure, this Beard car is not necessarily the best ever, but it's a Chevrolet. Can be plenty of other Chevrolets to work with there. Hill can put himself in position. We know that he knows how to win, specifically on this track, specifically in the plate races. So for a very long shot at 66-1, give me Austin Hill. Then I wanted to toss out a Quinella too, just because I can, and I love long shot bets. They're scared, Rod. Caesars offers all these Quinellas, all these exactas. Not a single one has Corey LaJoie in it. They know it's going to happen, and they're scared. But just in case it doesn't happen, give me the Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Quinella, 40-1. Brad was probably the best car here in the spring. He's one of the favorite, depending on what book you go to. He's as low as 10-1 on some books. I think I saw him up to like 16-1. If I didn't go with Elliott, it probably was Keselowski was the other one I would have gone with. But a very, very good super speedway racer. He's going to get one, right? It's coming. When is the time? Maybe now is. Blaney again, another very great, so probably arguably a top 2 or 3 super speedway racer at this point in the Cup Series. So I think putting those guys together in a Quinella, they can finish either way, first or second together. 40-1, I think, is worth a long shot as well, in case my 17 other winners don't win.
I mean, you're basically betting on the whole field anyways, which you always
now
do,
we've got everyone covered, and we can still, and unlike some other places, it still actually has a positive outcome if you hit one of these.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why you throw out these 40-1s or these 30-1s or whatever, just for the hell of it and just to see if it hits. So, I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. We saw a
200-1 win a couple weeks ago on a road course, and that doesn't even have the chaos of a super speedway. Like, we've seen that these guys can, especially, I mean, you got the Cindricks winning, the McDowells winning, when Stenhouse won the Daytona 500 earlier this season. When Haley won it, he was like 250-1. Obviously, that was really weird, but really weird is what we're looking for when you get these types of bets, right? We saw with Martin Truex Jr. a couple weeks ago, even at 35-1, like, long shots can win these races. We don't just give them out for shits and giggles. We give them out because sometimes they hit, and when they do, it's a hell of a party.
It is a hell of a party. Speaking of hell of a party, Trackhouse has been having a hell of a party lately. They have won 2 in a row, and just like you were saying, I don't know if I do it for 3 in a row. Maybe I will do it for 3 in a row. Ross Chastain is 25-1 as a winner. Again, I feel like his price is depreciated for I don't know what reason. And that's okay. That's why we pounce on this. It is difficult to win a bunch of races in a row. But as we've also seen in the past, we saw it with Kevin Harvick last season, right? Wins kind of come in bunches. And every once in a while, a driver gets hot and they start winning races. And that's sort of what I feel like Ross Chastain finally got that, I don't know, monkey off his back, or he finally was vindicated with that win a couple of weeks ago in Nashville, and feeling good about himself, feeling good about the race he ran, because he did run a much smarter race than he had run in past. He didn't piss anybody off too much. I mean, maybe they were pissed off that he won, but he didn't do anything really to piss people off on the track. So maybe this is a new look Chastain, and we all know how talented he can be. And I've rattled off the actual stats behind him as a top 3 car. So if you're a top 3 car at the end of that race, all it takes is for you to get in the right position to be in first place, to get the right push, to get the right run off of the turn 4 corner and find yourself in first place. So at 25-1, I really do like the value for Chastain to win, considering that, like you said, Elliott at 13-1, that's still a good deal for Elliott. All these guys basically started 10-1 on most of these books. You're getting more than twice the value to bet Chastain, who has won in the last 3 races, to win this race. I know, not necessarily sure what the books are doing. FanDuel is the one offering this 25-1, by the way. So go find that over there. But again, I think this is a good week to try to ride the momentum of Ross Chastain and hope it hits. And then for my long shot, screw it. Cole Custer, Rick Ware. Why can't a Rick Ware car win on a super speedway style racetrack? Why not? Right? We're throwing out all kinds of crazy long shots here. Cole Custer making his first start in the Cup Series this season.
Yep.
Actually, no, it was his second, because he did start in Atlanta here earlier in the season. He finished.
Who do you race for? Was he in a Rick Ware car then?
No, actually 2003, 05 Atlanta. He was in a Stewart. Oh, that was Cole. I'm sorry. I'm looking at his Xfinity. Shut up, Rod. Wrong tab, Rod. This is you giving out terrible information. All right. He finished 12th here, earlier this season in the Xfinity race. So he has obviously taken the track once in the Xfinity Series, started 12th. He hasn't made any starts since 2022. He did actually finish 9th here last year in that 41 car. So he was in the top 10 at the end of that race at 2022 in the fall, which means, very easily he could have maneuvered himself into a position to try to win this race. So, listen, we talked about Cole Custer just going down to dominate the Xfinity Series, and he didn't do it. But, there's nothing to say that he couldn't accidentally win this race and justify the fact that they called him up. It's a Rick Ware car. I get we're asking a lot of a Rick Ware car, but at 66-1, you'd be loving life if he accidentally hits this, right?
He's got 2 Xfinity Series wins this season, Rod, and in both of them, he put himself in the right position to luck into the. I wouldn't go out and say he completely just earned both of those. He did earn them, right? I'm not saying he didn't earn them, but like the Chicago Street Roar course, like he qualified fastest, held on, and then lucked into them canceling it out at was it Portland? I think he won the other one. Like he was 3rd place, 1st and 2nd took themselves out. Right position, right time. Guess what you need to do at a super speedway? Right position, right time. I love it. I think it's good. And imagine winning in a Rick Ware car and then just giving the finger to Stewart-Haas and being like, fuck you. And maybe Stewart-Haas had some hand in setting this car up. I mean, so it's not the Rick Ware cars aren't generally going to be as fast, right? You're not going to see a Rick Ware car up there leading this race in a full pack, but the fact that he could survive things and put himself in position, if it does have a little bit of a Stewart-Haas boost in it, because he is still a Stewart-Haas driver in the Xfinity Series, his dad is really high up at Stewart-Haas. Like they might have a hand in helping set this car up, as we've seen him do in the past. So that could boost it up a little bit as well. And then the Chastain call out again. He's got a super speedway win. He's been really close here to 2 second-place finishes in 3 races. Like you literally can't get much closer than that. At 25-1, I think that's a great bet as well. So I like both of those, and I feel like we got a winner in here somewhere.
I hope so. I mean, we've given out all the fields, so I hope we got a winner in there somewhere. But all right, speaking of which, take out your pen and paper. We're going to go over all of our bets for the Quaker State 400, available at Walmart over there at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Cody started you out by fading Kyle Larson, which we always do at Super Speedways. It was William Byron over Kyle Larson, minus 110 on Superbook. That began our betting card. I gave you Ross Chastain as a top 3 car at 575, plus 575 over on Superbook. Cody gave you Eric Jones as a top 10 car at plus 175 and went on to say a top 5 car at plus 475 over on Barstool. I gave you Tyler Reddick as a top 5 car at plus 400 over on DK. Cody said that it would be Justin Haley as the winner of Group C over on Caesars at plus 450 over the likes of AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, and Austin Dillon and Chase Briscoe. I feel like we have to do something like this here for our when we're bringing up the 14 car again. It's yeah. We're talking about
he's been making us a lot of money just betting against him, so I think he's fine to say his name.
Yeah, okay. Chase Briscoe is the other driver in there. I gave you an all to finish inside the top 10 bet of Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain, and Kyle Busch at plus 400 on Caesars. Cody's giving you a Bubba Wallace at plus 500 or Ty Gibbs at plus 550 as the top Toyota on Barstool. I said that Daniel Suarez in that number 99 car is going to win Group E at plus 270, which over on Superbook, which consists of LaJoy, Cindric, and Stenhouse. Cody's giving you LaJoy's corner. So basically just if it's got LaJoy, buy it, bet it. Top Chevy at 15-1 on Barstool. Top 5 at plus 450 at Barstool. Plus top 10 at plus 170 on Barstool. And then to win at 40-1 on Superbook. I'm saying that Elliott, Hamlin, and Truex will all finish inside the top 10 at 30-1 on Caesars. And then Cody's giving you Elliott at 13-1 on MGM, Bubba at 25-1, Gibbs at 30-1, Hill at 66-1 to win this race, and a hedge of Quinella, of Ryan Blaney and Brad Keselowski at 40-1. I'm tossing out Ross Chastain at 25 to win over on FanDuel, and then just giving you a Cole Custer 66-1 on BetMGM to sprinkle ever so lightly on, and the off chance that 51 car actually does something other than the 41 that he drove for all those years for Stewart Haas.
I like it. I'm excited. Again, don't go crazy this week. I know that's a lot of bets we gave you, but those are just the ones we like, right? You pick and choose which ones you like. For the winners, I think you take a unit, split it up between 4 different guys, maybe toss another half unit between 2 other guys. Like, that's how you do it, right? You don't go crazy. This isn't a 65 unit week. Like, don't go crazy. Sprinkle them appropriately. They're almost all plus odds bets. Try and hit what you can, and be thankful if you hit anything, because crazy shit happens at super speedways.
And honestly, again, with the way that we lay these bets out, and especially if you hit one of these 30-1s or 60-1s, have bet Cole Custer actually wins this race. I mean, obviously it's very easy to be profitable if you hit those. But once again, we try to give you enough to where you can make the decision on what you want to follow. And we try to not load you down with paying so much juice that if you do lose quite a bit of these, then you're totally out on the street. So, you know, again, we're trying to look out for you and guard your bets as well, but we won't also tell you how to go out and bet them. We just want you to understand that this is going to be a wildly chaotic race and you need to adjust accordingly.
Bingo.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and put Atlanta in the books. Let's get this out as soon as possible because obviously the books gave us a little bit yesterday. It was the 4th of July, which, by the way, I hope you guys all had a fantastic 4th of July weekend. I know that I did. And it was a very hectic work week for me, but I definitely still enjoyed my 4th of July. And I know Cody just said same thing with him, hectic work week, but you still enjoyed the day.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. Well, then as we depart, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on social media?
Yep. Follow me on Twitter at Husker_Zeeb. Find all my work over there. Check out the F1 Gambling Podcast as well. They're back in action 2 weeks in a row. Crazy for F1, but we'll be over there. Man, that's the last week over there. So check us out. If you like winning money on racing, do it. I'm telling you. And find the rest of my work over on Twitter at Husker_Zeeb.
It's funny with as much racing as we talk. I mean, there's there's bound to be weeks where we're kind of dry, but I feel like we've actually been on a pretty decent run lately with some of these good bets
that hot summer weather, Rod. We're just cruising right along with a little hot streak.
And I don't tend to pat myself on the back or anything, but I just feel like
it's been Corey LaJoy wins this weekend. I'm gonna be doing a lot of patting myself on the back.
You're gonna have to buy one of those extra hands where just sit there the whole time patting yourself on the back. Listen, I will. If I
win, that might make an appearance on YouTube next week if Corey wins.
Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's in between media, and of course, for frequency's sake. We'll be back later today or tomorrow. We'll figure it out with the Xfinity. Of course, in the meantime, F1 Gambling Podcast will come out as well. So enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you again on the next episode. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.